Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm going to be doing something really different here. Well, I mean, I'm sure another director has done this at one point or another, but I figure I'd go ahead and do it anyways, just because it was pretty, it was pretty interesting. It was a pretty interesting dream that I had, and I figured I'd go ahead and let you guys know about it. It was one of those dreams that as soon as you wake up from it, you try to remember it so that you can recall it at a later time. So it was one of those dreams. It was pretty epic. I think a lot of people believe that dreams last only like what 15, 20 seconds, but there's no way this dream only lasted 15 or 20 seconds. This thing had scene changes and acts and transitions and oh my gosh, dude, and like four or five different like main plots. So it was pretty good. It was pretty good. But let's just jump right into it here. So it starts off. I'm back in kindergarten at my kindergarten building, my elementary school building. And I know what you're thinking. It's going to turn into like one of those dreams where I'm giving a speech, and then all of a sudden I realize that I'm naked, and everyone's laughing at me, even the teacher, and my worst enemy is making out with my girlfriend, or something like that, something crazy like that, or a sequence of bad events. But no, nothing like that happened. Didn't go too crazy. No, all that happened was I was at kindergarten, and I kept changing from class to class, which doesn't happen in the United States in real life in the United States. In kindergarten and elementary school, grade school, you typically you don't switch classes too often. You stay in one class unless you go to like library or something. But that's besides the point. I'm just setting the stage here. So I'm in kindergarten and switching classes, and then all of a sudden I get teleported to like a building that's a mix between a high school and a college. And keep in mind, I'm dreaming and I don't realize it's a dream, so this all makes sense to me. At no point in this dream do I realize that I'm dreaming. Everything makes perfect sense, which is just awesome when you think about it. But yeah, so all of a sudden I'm in like this high school college building, and I'm walking around, I'm checking out all the classes, and I'm like reading all the names on the walls next to buildings, or not buildings, next to rooms, like who the professor is and stuff like that. And I can't remember any of them actually. Actually, I can remember one. There was one class, and the title of it was Jazz Improvisation. And most of the classes, now that I'm recalling, were actually music-based courses, which makes sense for me because at one point I was a music major. But anyways, walking around, and I run into this guy, and I thought this guy was an old friend of mine. So I'm like, "Hey, what's up, Dirk?" And he's like, "I'm not Dirk." And then all of a sudden, Dirk slides up next to him out of nowhere, just kind of poofs into existence. I'm like, "Oh, hey, Dirk. Sorry I called you Dirk, but what's up, Dirk?" that whole deal. And so I start talking to Dirk. And then after a while, I look back at this other guy, and I realize, wow, this guy kind of looks like Hutch, and he has a pretty awesome beard. He had like a fuzzy beard all around. It wasn't really long, but it was everywhere, and it was just like one of those beards you just want to grope and stroke. So that's what I started doing. I started kind of groping and stroking this dude's beard. But the funny part was, while I'm doing this, I'm not even looking at him. I'm looking at Dirk and talking to Dirk the whole time. So I'm like, "Oh, what's going on, Dirk? How you doing? What's been happening? Oh, yeah, that's pretty cool." And the whole time I'm just stroking this random dude's beard. So, and by the way, Dirk is a real life friend of mine. He was going to college close to where I live, and then he just went back to Washington. So I miss you, Dirk. I hope you're listening to this video, so that way you can get some lulls out of it. But yeah, so I'm not a big fan or a big person that believes there's like hidden messages and deeper meanings and dreams and stuff like that. But if I was, I think the one I could gather from this whole ordeal was that if Dirk looked a little bit more like Hutch and had a beard, I would make love to him. So Dirk, you need to get on that, man, because I need to make love to you. But anyways, so yeah, so all that happens. I'm talking, all of a sudden, bam! I get teleported to New York, New York, I should say, right in front of the Empire State Building. And I've only been to New York once, so the layout in my dream probably isn't anywhere close to the real layout in real life. In fact, that's probably made more evidence by that. As soon as I land in front of the Empire State Building, excuse me, there's a cul-de-sac in front of me. And I'm pretty sure there's not a cul-de-sac in front of the Empire State Building. But yeah, there's a cul-de-sac, and so anyways, I walk into the Empire State Building, and then for some reason I realize that I'm being tagged, or like someone is monitoring me with like a radar system or something. So I walk out, and I look out, and I see a car, and it looks like a car that you would suspect of being like an undercover officer or something like that. So I start looking at the guy who's driving the car, and he's probably almost a senior. He's probably like 65 in the dream. So I start looking at him, I'm pointing at him like, "Hey, I know what you're doing," and all of a sudden he kind of peels out. And the funny part was that this guy had a kid, and there was also a female in the car as well, so I'm assuming wife and kid kind of thing. And I'm like, why would an undercover officer, and I'm thinking this in the dream, why would an undercover officer bring his wife and his child? But still, at no point do I realize that I'm dreaming, and he peels off and I never see him again. So it's really not too pertinent to the dream, but it happens, so I figured I'd go ahead and tell it like it is. But So I walk back into the Empire State Building, and all of a sudden, crazy weather just starts breaking out everywhere. Like day after tomorrow, crazy tornadoes all over the place. I'm like sitting there watching the Weather Channel and seeing all these red dots all over the place where tornadoes are. And so I look back outside again, and all of a sudden I see a tornado form like in the middle of the street. And all of a sudden a subway car or a subway train comes out of one of the buildings into the tornado and gets sucked up, and that doesn't make any sense obviously because subways are underground. So that was pretty funny. And you know, once again in the dream I'm just like freaking out because I'm thinking, no, I don't realize it's a dream. So you think at that point I'd be like, okay, something's up here, something's not quite right, but nope. I am ignorant. So I am bliss in my ignorance. But continuing along here, weather's crap, so I go back, or I look in the back of the building. I'm looking for a door to go like into a basement or something to get safer. And so I go through a door, and like all of a sudden there's a transition. It's like kind of like an adjustment bureau transition where I open the door and I'm in a new area all of a sudden. And of course, you know, I'm in the dream. I don't realize it, so everything seems normal. In the area I'm in now, it's kind of hard to describe. Excuse me. Ooh, excuse me. I just had some cereal, and apparently that's making me burp. I'm not sure why. Anyways, transition. I go to this area, and I suppose the best way to describe this area, it's for anyone who has been to Universal Studios or a place like that, a place that has, you know, kind of a theme park kind of layout to it. At Universal Studios, they have rides, but the lines for these rides are usually pretty long, and so the lines have a bunch of scenery and things going on around them, so you're not bored. You know, like there'll be music and sound effects and smoke and all that kind of stuff. And so I find myself kind of in the pathway that's in the scenery. Like if I was like a maintenance guy, that's where I'd be, you know, fixing stuff and whatnot, but that's not what was happening. That's just where I am. So I'm like, what the hell is going on? But I still don't realize it's a dream. So anyways, that's happening. I'm walking around, and I walk into a group of friends of mine who are waiting in line. I'm like, why are you guys waiting in line? There's tornadoes outside. I'm freaking out. And they're like, well, what are you talking about? This is the best time ever to do something like this. And I'm like, okay. I just accept it. So that happens, and then all of a sudden, I think I go through another doorway, and I'm inside kind of like an atrium or a gallery, like a really big atrium or gallery. And of course, the Empire State Building could not fit a room this big. But I suppose the best way to describe it would be like from the movie Van Helsing. There's a scene in there where Van Helsing, he busts in trying to save the girl from a vampire, and there's like a bunch of vampires in a dance. They're like a ballroom dance, and this room is huge, and that's pretty much what the room looks like. So I'm walking around, I'm looking at like TVs on the wall or something like that, checking out the Weather Channel still, seeing all the weather, seeing how bad it is or something like that. And this is probably the best transition. So anyways, I'm looking towards the end of one of the hallways, because, you know, it's a really long hallway, and the whole thing. And on both sides of this long hallway, there's glass doors, kind of like what you'd see in a mall or something. And so I'm looking at one of these doorways, and what do I see? Zombies. I see zombies running along, tons of them, and they're doing that, you know, kind of making that raspy air noise the whole time. And so I'm like, oh crap, I need to get out of here. So I start running and booking it, and, you know, me and a couple friends, and we make it up on, actually before we get that far, I should say, we're running around the left side of this atrium or gallery, and all of a sudden a hunter from Left 4 Dead, I know it's probably sad that these kind of guys are making it in my dream, but anyways, a hunter jumps at us, and he makes that, you know, that growl noise that he makes, and it sounded exactly like the video game. So he jumps at us, we're freaking out, so we're booking it, and we end up getting on top of the second story in the mall, right above a doorway, and for whatever reason, there's like 50 or 40 other humans there, and a lot of them are dressed up in like SWAT gear and repel gear and have weapons, so we're like, oh, we're gonna be safe here. So we stay there for like, I don't know, 5-10 minutes, dream time. And then, and all of a sudden, there's like 2 or 3 zombies that somehow snuck up on us. They got in the second story, because the rest of the zombies, you know, they can't get us. And all of a sudden, everything freezes as these 2 or 3 zombies are about to attack. Everything's kind of frozen, and I'm still like, oh my gosh, we're about to get destroyed by zombies. Ah! And then everything kind of catches back up in time. It was really weird. Everything catches back up in time, and so me and my friends, we start booking it. We start booking it across the second story. And at this point, it's actually only me, another friend that I know, and then a random SWAT guy or whatever. And so we're running. All of a sudden, a freaking tank comes out of nowhere and starts chasing us from, once again, Left 4 Dead. And at first, this tank is flying, and I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. And I look back again, and it's running. I'm like, that's better. And still, I don't know that I'm dreaming. Haven't figured it out yet. So we're running, and we find this doorway. And for whatever reason, I know that once we get to this doorway, we're safe. And so, oh, and by the way, at about this point, the camera changes to third person. I don't know what I should call the camera. Everything is in third person, so I see myself, my friend, and this guy running. And we're running and running. And me and my friend just barely make it inside, but this other dude gets just creamed by the tank. So that kind of goes the ways of movies. The non-essential characters kind of just get taken out. So he's gone, and for whatever reason, the dream for that part is over, and I know it. I know, like, I'm no longer in this dream, but the camera kind of pans out, goes to darkness, and then transitions back into that area that I was earlier in, like, the Universal theme park kind of thing. It was like a corridor there, and we're looking at a cat. It's a normal-sized cat, gray with white spots. And we're looking at this cat, and all of a sudden we see this cat is looking at like 12 or 13 penguins. And 12 or 13 penguins. And all of a sudden this cat puts on sunglasses. It was pretty sweet. He puts on these black shades, and it's already pretty dark, so that just adds to the coolness factor of it. But this cat puts on sunglasses, and he's got some kind of gun. It's not like a normal gun that shoots bullets. I don't know what it's shooting, but he starts shooting these penguins one at a time, and he hits them. The penguins like make a noise, and then like a second later they keel over. So he kills all the penguins. No idea why, no rhyme or reason. It just happens. And then the cat takes off the shades and then just kind of sits there because it doesn't want to go out until anywhere else because it knows that there's zombies out there. And so it's sitting there waiting, and all of a sudden, like, a baby kitten just runs in there out of nowhere because this baby kitten at the time is running from a zombie, and like it makes it underneath like this area into where the cat is that the zombie can't get to, but he can still get his arm through, and so he grabs the kitten, and the kitten's like, you know, still pawing, and it sees the bigger cat, and it looks up at the bigger cat like, you know, help me, do something, and the bigger cat's just kind of sitting there staring at it for a minute, and then and then all of a sudden the bigger cat puts on the sunglasses again. And just kind of stares at that little cat for a while, and then all of a sudden, like, the camera, like, it just shifts entirely. It shifts to like a random piece of furniture or something, and it starts zooming out like at the end of a scene, and it kind of starts fading to black, and then all of a sudden you hear like that cat scream, that kind of thing, and then like the little cat, from my understanding, I didn't see it. From my understanding, the little cat exploded after getting infected, and then it got all over the big cat or something. I don't know. I didn't see it, but yeah, that's what goes on inside the mind of Bio, or Josh, in case you were wondering there. So, and nothing has been fabricated. Everything is true. So I'm just legitimately crazy. So yeah, I'll see you guys later. Hope you enjoyed the video.